The top things that I see when I look at most restaurant owners is that restaurant owners are kind of like the spoke. And just picture a bicycle wheel for a second. There's 1,000 little spokes that go out from that keep the whole thing turning, but they are at the center of everything. So it's almost like nothing happens without them somehow being involved in it. And I will tell you that that is not the way that a business should be run. But oftentimes it's the only way that we know how to run a business, because most restaurant owners are first-time business owners, or they get in, if they've had other businesses, they don't know enough about the industry to be able to do these same things. Hey guys, welcome to the Restaurant Growth Accelerator podcast. I am your host, Andrew Scott, multi-location restaurant owner for over 17 years. And I also own Ownershift, which helps restaurant owners make more profit with their businesses, grow their sales, and have more free time with their families. So with me today, we've got Dave Doyle, and what we're diving into is how to get your team to actually do their job without you having to be there all the time. So most annoying thing ever is when you try and take some time off, and then all of a sudden you get these calls from the restaurant. Oh, where do we put the toilet paper? Oh, I'm out of lettuce. Meanwhile, you know that you literally had just ordered 3 cases of lettuce, and it's right there in the walk-in. It might be under a box of tomatoes or something, whatever. But point is, you're inundated with these, let's just call them stupid questions, right? Or then you come back and it looks like a bomb went off in your business, and you're like, I just left at like 3 o'clock and here it is the next morning because you tried to take an evening off. I've only been gone like 7 hours. How did a bomb go off in the business? And it looks like a complete disaster from the time that I left it. And so then you end up spending most of your days just trying to fix all the stuff that went wrong, and you're just trying to get your business back to normal. And then you leave again, maybe you try off, and boom, there it goes again. And you're left as an owner being like, is this my life? Is this what life is going to be like forever?
How many times have we asked ourselves those questions?
And you're literally then like, okay, now what's the insurance? Like, is there a way that, like there could be just like a little fire and, maybe like the thoughts had crossed my mind. I never did that, but thoughts had crossed my mind. And anyway, I'm sure most other people have thought.
I've never thought those things before about my restaurants.
Yeah, you just fantasize about just shutting the doors one day or selling it. Anyway, but here's the thing. We do that. We often are driven to these thoughts because there's a problem in the business. And here's the deal, is if we solve that problem in our business, we then will not have those same thoughts. It's totally weird. I've seen so many clients that we've worked with, they will start and they'll be like, Andrew, it's either, like I give this one last shot, and if it doesn't work, then I'm out and I'm selling the restaurant. Because most people, again, think they can make a lot of money selling the restaurant when the reality is not quite the same. And so this has come from, hundreds of client experiences when we've gone in and we've done the evaluation. Anyway, point is, if we solve the problems in the business, you are then more likely to want to keep the business. And so what we're talking about today is how the team members and their performance kind of affect that. So the top things that I see when I look at most restaurant owners is that restaurant owners are kind of like the spoke. And just picture a bicycle wheel for a second. There's 1,000 little spokes that go out from that keep the whole thing turning, but they are at the center of everything. So it's almost like nothing happens without them somehow being involved in it. And I will tell you that that is not the way that a business should be run. But oftentimes it's the only way that we know how to run a business, because most restaurant owners are first-time business owners, or they get in, if they've had other businesses, they don't know enough about the industry to be able to do these same things. Because maybe we were, we worked in the industry before, maybe we were great in the kitchen, maybe we were great as servers, maybe whatever. Like for me, I was part-time and I bought the business that I worked at. Like that's how I started. Dave, you did the same thing. You were,
Exactly.
A manager, and then you ended up opening the same concept in a different city. So, same thing. So we come in with this, limited skill set, which we think is the whole skill set. But in reality, most of us with one location, we can brute force our way to success. And what I mean by that is we can literally just work more and handle more. Something goes wrong, no worries. I'll fill the shift. Customer mistake, no worries. I will handle it and I will take care of it. All of a sudden we are, someone calls in sick and we need to get this catering order out the door. No worries. I will take it, right? We are able to brute force our way to success with one location, but all that ends up doing is burning you out. And most people who function like that, there's no one in hell that on a management role because they see what you're doing and they're going, screw that. I'm not doing that.
They don't,
right? So
they don't want any part of that.
No. I mean, you don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. So I don't blame them, right? Because if they see your job and they go, hell no, why would anyone want to do that? It means that there's a problem in the business. And it usually stems from a skill set on our part. And let me talk to you about that a little bit. Because most of the businesses aren't doing the right things comes down to usually two issues, right? There's either people problems or there are system problems. And so at the end of the day, most of us blame system problems on people problems, right? Say somebody closes up the last night and they come in and all of a sudden the mirror isn't clean in the bathroom. And you're like, oh my God, Casey's just terrible. She didn't even clean the bathroom mirror and didn't mop the floor properly. Oh, I see this thing over here. And oh my God, she's a terrible person and I hate her. I always hate coming in after Casey closes. How many of your businesses do the openers in day shift hate the night shift and the night shift hates the day shift, right? It's because there's a systems problem in the business, not necessarily a people problem, because there's a lack of clarity on what needs to happen. So let me go into this for a second, because most people, common sense isn't common to someone who's never done it before, is a saying I use a lot. And these days when we hire people, we don't know if to mop a floor or sweep a floor or have good customer service. So our training and our standards and our systemization of the process of what we do, it is from there that we are able to then enforce a standard, right? But most people don't know what that is. So let's just take something as simple as a recipe card in the kitchen, right? Say we have this burger, supposed to have, X amount of ounces in a patty, supposed to have this type of cheese, supposed to have this type of toppings, supposed to use this type of... Well, guess what? If you tell that to one person on training and then never again, what are the likelihood that they're going to do that successfully for the rest of time if they don't have anything to refer back to, right? Probably pretty low, because they're not going to remember all that, especially when they have another 7 or 8 other burgers to do, say, if you're a burger concept. And the other thing, too, is when we talk about plating, if we don't have pictures of how it should be plated, how are they going to do that properly, right? We're just assuming that they're going to know it's supposed to be 4 ounces of fries. What if someone all of a sudden just thought that was 6 ounces? All of a sudden, there goes your food cost, and no one's the wiser. And then maybe someone else sees them do 6 ounces of fries, and then all of a sudden, they start doing it too. Pretty soon, your whole kitchen's doing 6 ounces, and you're like, when did that change? I never made that change. But it's not written down anywhere, right? The thing is, we have so many processes in our businesses that are not written down and not recorded, or if they're recorded and written down, they are near enough. So an example that I like to use with this one is of that bathroom mirror. So on our ops checklist, we used to have clean bathroom mirror. Right? So to me, I was completely clear about what you needed to do to clean a bathroom mirror. I've cleaned thousands of mirrors. I used to do this. It makes total sense to me. But Sally, who walks in, who has never cleaned a bathroom mirror in her life, she then takes degreaser and a white bar towel and tries to clean it, and it's foggy with a bunch of white little streaks left from the bar towel, and she goes and checks it off because she cleaned the mirror, and yes, she did. Did she do it properly? No, but she did what was written there, right? So that is a process problem, because we need to look at every single thing that needs to happen in our business. It needs to be written down. It needs to be clear, because if it is not, without the clarity, we can't have accountability. I can't go to Sally and say, Sally, what the hell's wrong with you? How come you clean the mirror like this? Because her instant thing, as she's going to say, is, oh, no one ever showed me how to clean a mirror. I didn't know that that's how we were supposed to clean a mirror, right? Because we then left her with two decisions to make on her own. One was what kind of product to use, and two, what kind of product to use to clean it, like, the cleaning product and then the paper towel or a bar towel or a dirty grease rag. Like, who knows? Easier things happen. But we left two decisions up to her, and then we're going to blame her for it. When the reality is the fault is on us, right? So every process in your business needs to be written down, and it needs to be written down on a checklist, and we need to be able to initial that checklist. A couple reasons for that. But we need to have it written on a checklist that we can initial, and it should go in sequential order, because we also don't want to have it written randomly in all sorts of different places, because then our employees are running around scatterbrained trying to do different things. So it needs to be clear, it needs to be written down. And most owners I know, and most senior staff and managers I know, as they come to me and say, Andrew, well, I know how to do that. And I look at them and say, I don't give a shit if you know how to do that. The point is that they don't. And
my favorite question is, my favorite question to those people at that time is, okay, so how do your new people know what that is? You just said you and a couple of your staff team members that have been there with you for 5 years, 10 years, know exactly what to do, when to do it, how to do it. But how does the new person know that? Right? It's like, well, we train them. Okay, so where's that information? Right here. Okay, great. That doesn't do anything for anybody. So my goal for operations is for every single person who is employed there knows exactly what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And the only way that happens is exactly what you said, is having an operational system, which is checklists. Yes, it's basic. Yes, it's simple. Yes, it can be old school. It can be a laminate.
Yep.
Right? It can be a piece of paper that you print and laminate. It can be on software or on an app on your phone. There's stuff that do that now, but it has to be checklisted, and it has to have full accountability, which is where the initials come in and everything else. And
so
that's the only way, and we teach this every day.
Yeah, well, let's talk about accountability for a second. So when it comes to accountability, only first do we need to have clarity. Because here's the thing, like I mentioned before, when something doesn't get done, we default to blaming the person, right? So then we have to ask, okay, was it clear? Which is, again, what we just talked about. Was it clear what they should do? That's step number one. If we find it indeed was clear, the next thing we have to figure out is, were they trained on that, right? So did someone actually show them what to do, and did they make it clear that they were the ones that were supposed to do it, and we went over how to do it? So we've crossed those two buckets. And the next piece that I always double check is, have we given them feedback on it? So think of it this way. Because sometimes I've had people that were mad because an employee didn't do something 3 months into their employment that they were told about in the interview and never mentioned since then. Right? That's not a fair expectation, because you said it once doesn't mean they're going to remember it. What we know is that people on average retain about 10% of what they're told. So they're probably not going to remember. So when we look at that, we have to say, okay, is this the first time that they didn't do it? And if so, have we followed up and given them feedback on it? Because here's something I see happens a lot. They see, like, say you're the owner of a business, and you're coming in and you're doing the opening shift, and you come in, and after this closer, let's call him Billy. I actually had a Billy that worked for me. He's actually a great employee. But so Billy, let's just say, worked, and he didn't do the things he was supposed to. So day number one, I'm grumbling to myself, oh, that Billy, and as you're cleaning up, organizing the walk-in, and as you're doing the stuff, like, oh, Billy, oh, I hate that, blah, blah, blah. And then you get busy on, and you go and you do the rest of your day, and then you walk home. Billy works the next night. And so then you go in, and you're like, oh my God, this is the second time Billy's done this. Oh my God. And so then you start grumbling about it. And so then third day happens again. And by this time you're freaking livid. And so then you take Billy by the scruff of his neck, and you start shaking him around like Homer Simpson and Bart Simpson, and you just get really frustrated. And you're like, Billy, I'm going to go. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I've been closing this way for months, and this is the first time I'm hearing about it, right? And so we need to make sure that there was feedback, and it was timely feedback, because we need to make sure that he's doing a pattern that he knows is not the correct thing. So, and that comes from having that conversation. So the first time is literally just like, hey, just wanted to let you know, I noticed this, and this is what our processes say. I just want to make sure there was no lack of clarity here. I want to make sure you know that this is the way it's supposed to be done. Does that make sense? Okay, what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? Like, that's just the conversation. It's very matter of fact. It's not a big deal. It takes like, a minute and a half. It doesn't take very long to have that feedback conversation. So once it's clear, once we've actually went through all of the other pieces of it, and we know that they know because we also had that feedback conversation, then it becomes a people problem. Then it's like, okay, Billy, this didn't get done. I know we already spoke about it and that you know what to do. So why isn't this happening? Right? And so then we come to more of a, tougher conversation. And then by the third time, we're like, okay, Billy, like, this is your written warning, because the second one, I should say, is your verbal warning. And then the second one, third one now. Okay. First one is the feedback conversation. Second one is the verbal warning. Third one's the written warning. There we go. So then you're saying it happens again. Like that's it, right? That's where this road ends, and you'll have to find another place of employment. So that's the conversation to have there, because they need to know it's also serious. But before we can do any of that, we actually have to go through and make sure there's clarity, because you can't have accountability unless you have clarity. Because what are you going to hold them accountable on if they don't even know what they're supposed to do, right? You can't hold them to a standard that's in your head and not on paper. That's just bad management. So when it comes to getting your employees to do all the things they should do, the first step is actually having clarity in the process. Now, the next piece is the accountability, which I mentioned. If something doesn't happen properly, instead of fixing it yourself, Dave, what should you do?
Restaurant owners, before you open more locations, stop. I've seen way too many owners go from 1 to 2 to 3 to bankruptcy. I know, because I was once there myself. The difference in owning multiple locations is how you have to change, and if you don't make the shift, it'll take years to recover. I took my 3 biggest lessons and put them in a free ebook called the Multi-Unit Playbook, so you don't have to go through the same struggles that I did. Go to the link in the description below and get your free copy today.
Feedback there, and a system of feedback. Yep. Where everybody's a part of it. It's not just the owner or the general manager. It can be anybody on shift, and typically it's going to be a supervisor or above, but it can also even be coworkers. But the reality is, and it's funny you mentioned the opening versus closing, right? So day versus night shift. I mean, there's never any infighting about that, right? There's never any infighting. There's never any infighting between front of house, back of house, ever. So what I love about the operational system and having a great checklist system is that it takes away a ton of both of those major infighting between a business. The day versus night is much alleviated, and the front of house versus back of house is also much alleviated. So you're in a way better position with your culture, your team, your mood, when everybody knows what to do, when to do, how to do it, and we're holding each other accountable for it. So for example, on a night shift, you have a closing and you have all the details, and it's there's advantages and disadvantages to everything. But the disadvantage on a night shift, closing shift, is that in the morning when people come in, you are under a microscope, because it's really easy to see what was missed when everything is supposed to be perfect, right? So people come in the morning, the openers come in, and they know exactly what the night people missed, because it's very clear and obvious, because everything isn't perfect. And almost every day, there's probably something out of sync. There's something that was missed somewhere. And usually it's a few little things. No big deal, unless it's a pattern of the same thing over and over again, or of the same person, which you just talked about a minute before. But here is what is a big deal. If every day there's 2 little things that keep going wrong, even if they're different things every day, and there's never feedback, then the closing team never has a clue about it. So when you go to their checklist that's been checked off, and the opener comes in, sees that there's a few things out of whack, they go to the closing checklist, which is right there. They look at it and look at those items. They can see exactly who was responsible for that, because their initials are on it. Or it's blank because nobody did it, in which case now they know exactly why it looks like that, right? But either way, they have something to refer to. So at that point, they can hand that list to the supervisor or the shift lead and say, hey, the closers missed this and this last night. Again, we're not punching them in the face or getting upset or swearing at them. It's matter of fact, it's calm, it's not a big deal. It's like, these are the 2 things that were missed last night. So now that shift lead, when the night crew comes in later, they say, hey guys, just like what Andrew just said, hey guys, there was a couple of things missed last night, this and this, Billy you had your initials on that one. Actually, what happened? And Billy's like, yeah, we were in a hurry to get out, and I half-assed it for sure. I'm sorry. I'll be better tonight. Okay, no problem. Good, great.
Yep.
That's the accountability, the initial accountability and feedback. And if that is a culture piece, a routine piece, where every single day, throughout the day, throughout the shifts, we're double checking each other's work and giving just simple, basic, easy feedback. It's not a competition to get people in crap. It's just letting them know so that they can fix it for the next shift. It becomes just a part of it. Nobody takes offense. Nobody's hurt feelings by it. It's just the way you do it. It's providing that constant accountability and feedback. And that loop is huge for getting to the point where everything is truly like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And I love it when it gets to there. Yes, please.
Okay.
What you got?
So here's a story. So one of my friends, his name's Chris, and he had actually had 3 restaurants. And so, but this story is about one of them. And so one day he called me. He says, Andrew, you will not believe what just happened. I said, oh, tell me more. Because, who doesn't like a little drama first thing in the morning when it doesn't involve your own business?
Right.
So I was like, sure, tell me what's going on. And so he said, I came in this morning and I found a bunch of like black stuff in the toilet. And I'm like, did someone die? Like what? Do you need to call a doctor? Like what's going, like, that does not sound normal. And he's like, no, what had happened was I called up the closer and instead of, so when they cleaned their flat top, right, they put the chemical and everything from the flat top down into the little trap, which is under there. And then normally that should go, depending on your business, if they had, and again, depending on your type of business. In his case, it went in the garbage, but I mean, in other places, there's obviously a grease receptacle for that type of waste. Anyway, point is, somehow he started
dumping it in the
closer
toilet?
started putting that in the toilet, which obviously could pose some major issues from a plumbing perspective, from like there's a lot of things. It could back up the cities. Anyway, it could be a big deal. So he's livid with this closer and he's like, how the heck did you ever, think about doing that? And so here's what happened. So one night, a closer 6 months ago, right, basically decided, oh, I'm really busy tonight. So instead of going out and disposing of this like I should, I'm just going to go and take it to the toilet and dump it down there. Right. And so does that one night and it's busy. And then nobody ever notices. Nobody says anything. No feedback. Right. And so then the next few he does it properly like he should, and then all of a sudden, again, it gets really busy, he's late getting out, and so he does that again, right? And then, he's waiting that feedback the next day, someone to be mad at him. Nope, didn't happen. He's like, oh, well, I guess that's not a big deal. And so he starts doing that from then on, because then if he's gotten away with it a few times, it just continues to be the new standard of closing, right? And so then what ended up happening is, he'd be busy, and one night then he skips a few more tasks that are on the list, right? And so then continues to do that one. Now, brand new closer comes in, is getting trained by him. So, does he train them the way that it should be done, or does he train them the way that he has been doing it? He trains them the way that he's been doing it. And these other little items on the close list that he just skips over but signs off on, no one ever says anything. So he's like, oh, those ones aren't important. Don't even worry about doing those. And so pretty soon, this happens. Same pattern continues. Third closer gets trained, and this is the one that gets caught. And so what ended up happening is this guy's in here like, my buddy was like, I might have to fire you over this. This is a pretty big thing. But for him, that's the way he was trained. And he was also doing such a horrible job at closing because he wasn't doing half of the closing list, but not because he was doing anything different than what he thought he should be doing. It is just literally the way he was trained. And I've seen so many restaurant owners have to come in and retrain people on closing because instead of giving proper feedback when things don't happen the way that they should be, what ends up happening is then there's no feedback. Standards go down until they end up coming in, firing people, and retraining everyone on closing to a standard that no one even knew existed because of the lack of feedback. So feedback needs to be there to keep our standards high. So I want to tell you another story. And so this is the difference in between virtuous cycle and I think we called it the stress spiral. So I've seen this happen in almost every client restaurant. I've seen it happen in every one of my restaurants multiple times throughout, the journeys. And so what would happen is that someone on the day shift will end up missing a task or it gets busy. And so they leave a few extra things for the night shift to come in, right? It's a pretty normal thing. I was really busy. The dishes all didn't get done. So then, the other shift by doing these dishes or finishing up, prep work or whatever the case is that might not be what their situation should be, but they have to do, say this half an hour of work from the day crew. Well, then by the time the night crew gets there, they've all of a sudden had a half an hour less of time than what they should have. So by the end of the night, they end up missing a few things. And so then the day crew comes in the next morning and they see this half an hour work. And so then they're grumbling, oh, I shouldn't have to do this. I have to go and clean up for the night crew. Screw that Billy or who I hate when Billy closes and they have to do this half an hour. And so then, this time, 45 minutes gets left for the night crew. And then the night crew in turn leaves 45 minutes of stuff for the next person. Pretty soon, the night crew hates the day crew hates the night crew. Everybody's mad at everybody. Everybody thinks that nobody does their job. And management is just like, I don't know what is true. And the manager's frustrated with everybody because everybody's just mad, right? And nothing's getting done properly, right? And so then outcomes that are failing. We have, standards that are dropping. So here's the thing. We would call that, the stress spiral. And so here's what actually fixes it. And it's really, really simple, but it's just timelines, right? So here's what we did. In my restaurant, we literally looked at, okay, what would the perfect day look like? If we wanted to run the perfect day, what would everyone do? And when would optimal time to do it? So we looked at prep work. When is the optimal time for us to focus on prep work? In our business, we found that time was 9:30 until 10:30 in the morning, just based on our open time, based on who was working. Like we just found that is the key time for prep to happen, right? And the prep should finish by 10:30, and then we move on to prepping for our lunch shift and getting everything ready, what we would call rush ready, to make sure we're ready to handle the rushes and stuff like that. And we found that if these things happened, the day shift went really good because then we could start our after lunch cleaning duties. We started those at 2:00, and those should be finished by 3:00. And then at 3:00, we started on another prep period between 3 and 4:30. And then at 4:30, we would start our, prep for the evening shift, getting rush ready because our, around 5:30 is when we started to have our dinner rush come in. So we just timed it all out. And then we knew that our pre-close checklist needed to be started at 7:00, just based on our customer volume. And then we knew that our closing list needed to be started by X time. And if all of those things happened during the day, the shifts would run flawlessly. If everyone followed those time lanes and completed the duties properly, everything would run smooth. Everyone was happy. Service was great. Our times were great for customer service. And it just was an amazing thing. We met all of our numbers. Like the business functioned like a well-oiled machine. Now, if all of a sudden someone did not do something fully, that all of a sudden loads more tasks onto a later time. So and this employees too, guys, if you don't do something, it doesn't mean that it doesn't need to get done. It means that someone else has to do it. So what you're doing is you're putting work on Billy tonight. Is that fair to Billy? Well, no, it's not. So that's the kind of thing that we have to understand.
The more it keeps compounding and getting worse, but
it becomes normal.
At the end of the day, and what I love is that everything that you just laid out can be on a very basic, simple, classic checklist. As long 100%. As you have all the elements on that checklist to cover everything off, you're set. And can we go over a few of those? Just the basic elements?
Yeah, absolutely. Just the only thing I wanted to finish off there with my story is just simply that once we got everybody on track, everything started to work out. Now, here's the caveat to that is that if something doesn't get done, because say business is going to fluctuate, maybe had a really big lunch, well, guess what? Then we're trying to get some of our team to stay a little bit later so that we can still meet the deadline. Or if it's slower, we're trying to cut so that we still meet the deadline, but we're trying to save on labor. So we need to be flexible because the thing is, and even if all the shit hits the fan, and all of a sudden there's no way that it gets really busy in the evening. There's no way you can call anyone else in. The morning's going to be in for it. So what you do is then you let the morning people know, hey guys, this is what happened. You're going to need a little bit more time. So maybe someone should come in a little bit earlier, or maybe we call an extra person in for that day shift, because even if shit hits the fan one day, we cannot allow that to go beyond the next day.
Exactly.
Because otherwise it becomes a pattern, and then we end up getting into this stress cycle and anger cycle. Instead, what we want to be doing is on our shifts, we want to be saying, hey, what can I do that's going to help Billy tonight? And then Billy, when he's closing, what can I do that's going to help the day get even better? And that created a virtuous cycle, which made the restaurants a dream to run. And it comes from the clarity, it comes from the accountability, and it comes from the deadlines around it, which is what we would call structure. And when you run a structured business, amazing things can happen. So go ahead, let's dive in.
Yeah, and the last piece would be communication, which kind of is clarity, but the communication piece, which is one of the elements. So on a very simple, basic checklist, the things I think that you want to see is, number one, a line for initials on every single item that you're doing, as opposed to a checkbox. It's not just a checkbox with a check mark. It's actually an initial line so that you know exactly who did which task, so that when the feedback time comes, you don't have to go chasing around trying to figure out who did what. It's right there on the checklist. You go exactly to the person who did that task, right? Even titling and putting a name on the top of the checklist. So if you have an opening checklist and you have two people that are coming in to open, have them put their name on the top of that checklist for the day. Even if it's a laminate that's dry erase and you're going to delete, by putting their name on it, psychologically, it gives them power, or gives them the responsibility of everything on that list, because now their name is attached to it, right? So it's just increasing the level of responsibility and the sense of ownership that they have over that checklist. So now they're putting their initials on it, and at the very bottom, have a blank space for notes or comments for the next shift. That's the communication piece. And so for example, and again, we are always picking on the closers because it's just the easiest example, but for the closing shift, if they legitimately left a few things undone or couldn't complete for whatever reason, actually, so if you run out of grill cleaner and you cannot clean the grill 100% because you literally ran out of product to clean it with, the people in the morning don't know or don't care. All they see is that the grill is not clean. But if you explain it to them, say, hey, sorry, the grill is only 50% because we ran out of grill cleaner. It'll be on the truck today. It'll be better tonight. So now the opener comes in and sees the dirty grill, and they're like, stupid closers. Why didn't they clean the grill right? But then they look at the checklist from the night before and they see the love note on the bottom saying, sorry guys, couldn't do the grill, ran out of cleaner. It'll be perfect tonight. They're like, oh, nice. What an awesome night, crew. They left me a note, right? It completely flips the conversation, because now they're not mad at them because they have an explanation. So there's the clarity and the communication piece. And if you build that right into your checklist system and your operational system, then it's constant communication back and forth between day and night, but also even between front and back, because there's often some crossover between front and kitchen and some duties or things that they'll notice about each. And if everybody has access to the checklists that are in place and can see the notes from the previous 24 hours, everything is smoother, everything is better, and everything is communicated.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that happens is that whenever things go off track in a restaurant, it's either when the standards are not followed or there is no accountability. So once the clarity is there, if people don't do things or they don't do it by the right time, that starts to create this, but it's easy to go back and fix it with that feedback. Now, another comment I get too is, but I've got people that have been here for a long time and they stop using the checklist. Well, guess what? They are also the ones who are setting the standard for everyone else. And so a question I always ask them is like, hey man, so do you think our brand new employee that's been here a week is as good as you? Well, no.
No.
Okay. Well, why are we? Because you might know what's on this list, but they don't. And by you not using it, you're telling them that they don't have to use it because monkey see, monkey do. It's a thing. And so all of a sudden, do you think that they're going to miss stuff? Well, yeah, of course. And guess who's going to have to clean that up? You will. Okay. And so the next question I ask them is like, okay, now have you ever missed something ever? in your entire
even though
life.
you know everything and you've done it for years and you know exactly what you're doing, you still will miss something.
Yeah. And so here's the other thing too. As an owner, I always would use the checklist every single time. And the reason I would do it is not that I didn't know the stuff that was on there, but it's because other people would see my initials and I set the standard from my level. And the same, I expect everyone, even the people that have been there a while, it's even more important that they do that, because sometimes it's not even about them. It's about everyone else. And that's how we create a business. Because if you want to work in an environment that you hate, don't do it. But if you actually want to, enjoy where you work and actually have things go well, we need to follow the standards and the system. If someone doesn't follow the system, then that's not the right place for them. They can find somewhere maybe where they work alone and they only have to deal with their own actions. But for us in restaurants, we work in teams. So we all need to get on the same page, get on the same train, and actually follow the system. So again, to recap here, number one, take all of the stuff that needs to happen out of your brain and put it on paper, right? Number two, we want to make sure that it is clear and very specific on how to do it when it is on paper. Number three, we want to have accountability around all of it. And number four, we want to have timelines and, again, additional accountability around that as well. So we need to have all of those things. Now, the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with as well is a story about Now, Dave, you remember another one of our clients, Dave G from Texas, and he used to clean this floor drain, and he's like, Andrew, I clean this floor drain because I show everybody that I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I can get in there and I'm going to clean this floor drain. And then he went away for 2 weeks and nobody cleaned the floor drain. Right? And he'd come back livid. Oh my God, nobody cleaned the floor drain. Like, I show them by example, I lead by example, and I do it myself. How come nobody did it? And I'm like, Dave, because you're the one that always does it. Where was it on the list? Where did anyone else know that that's part of their responsibility? And he's like,
did you train them? Did you tell them? Do you have it on the timeline?
Yeah.
Is it part of the regular daily duties?
It wasn't there. It wasn't there because he did all these things. And most of us as owners don't even realize all of the things that to keep the train on the tracks. There might be 100 little things that you do every day. And as soon as you stop doing them, nobody does them. Well, guess what? That's because they are not part of that system. No one else is trained on how to do it because it's stuff that you do. And when you take away the person that normally does the stuff, well, the stuff's not going to get done. No one's magically going to know what you used to do. My girlfriend moved all of the utensils in the house the other day, and she's like, well, the spatulas go here and the whisks go over here and the forks go there. Watch me just put them in the same place they always were. She's like, how do you not know that they're supposed to go here? I'm like, well, you didn't tell me, and there's not a sign on it. Now maybe I'm just a dude and I'm oblivious. That's also possible. But my point is, I just did what I thought was right. But the point is, there wasn't clarity around it. And if you're going to make a change, you can't expect other people to follow it unless you communicate the change and also set up the system so that it can be followed. Now, I don't want to work any husband-wife debates here on this podcast. Anyway, I'm sure you guys can handle that at home, but it should be clear.
Very relatable.
It should be clear. No, it's true because I just did it, didn't think a thing. I thought I was doing the right thing, right? But it wasn't the right thing to her, right? But I was unaware of it. So therefore, I am right. No, just kidding. I hope she doesn't.
Therefore, you were wrong.
I'm still wrong. But the point is, this is how we create those systems that can actually make things better. And so I think that at the end is if there's things that you do in your business that nobody else does, there is a problem in your system. I remember one of my managers saying, I'm the only one that ever organizes the walk-in. And I'm like, okay. So why are you always the one that fixes it? How come the next time when somebody puts the truck away and you go back in and then reorganize it, why don't you go back in and then just get them to do it and tell them what they should be doing differently, right? Because if you keep fixing it, you will always keep fixing it, and you will always stay stuck in the same place that you are now. And if that isn't a place, then follow these steps and listen more to the Restaurant Growth Accelerator because we have plenty more tips coming up on the next episodes. Guys, thank you for being here. Dave, thank you for being here as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thank you. Bye.
This episode is brought to you by Ownership Training, where we help restaurant owners increase their profits while spending more time with their family. And if you want to know exactly what it would take to grow your profit margin to 15% and beyond while spending more time with your family, my team has a few spots open this week for a free 15-minute restaurant assessment call. Just click the book a call link in the description and we'll show you the exact frameworks we're using to help our clients do this in as little as 6 to 8 weeks. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.